Welcome everyone to Artivism, the Power of Art for Social Transformation. Today we have with us our new Artivism chapters. Before we begin, I just want to show you a recorded message from one of the Olive Tree Branch chapters, Irini Ampoumogli. Just give me 1 minute and I will play it. Okay.
Hello to all from Greece. I am Irini Ampoumogli, an actress, theater director, and sociology researcher with focus on issues regarding feminism and gender equality. I would like to start by saying that my first contact with the Artivism Initiative was when Professor R.J. Gelerakis learned about my work with the women of Eleftheria, a small village in Rethymno, in Crete. And we met that summer and I presented on the Artivism platform the research I was conducting in the village, which was called the Vegera Project. And then we came up with the idea to have a chapter for the European time zone, which is now called the Olive Tree chapter and is situated in Athens and Cyprus. We decided to change the name of the chapter because we wanted to raise awareness towards the fragility of the ecosystem and the need to protect the environment. So we decided to get inspired from local endangered or extremely precious flora and fauna, but we will hear more about that in the conversation coming. I would also like to say that Artivism has been a point of reference for me. It boosts creative thinking towards social change, integration, diversity, and equality. The Artivism initiatives everywhere help us realize that we are not alone in the struggle towards social change. And now, after over 120 virtual presentations and currently into season 7 of Artivism, the Power of Art for Social Transformation, Artivism, the initiative, is now expanding with regional in-person chapters. That creates the opportunity for in-person invitations and networking, aiming at monthly presentations by meaningful and inspiring local initiatives. Now, the Olive Tree chapter, we have already presented 2 live events that engaged the people from Eleftheria in one and students from Crete in the other that were also recorded on Zoom. And we hope to have more in-person events that can also be shared. The first was the traditional Cretan craft of dessia, where Mrs. Eleni Vumboulaki presented her work on macrame and its symbolic meanings. And then it was the lesson that never happened, facilitated by Professor Eleonora Maliou, an artistic project where high school students dealt with violence through painting and text. And from that, you can have a small peek now.
Δεν μπορείς από έναν τίτλο να κρίνεις μια έκθεση, όπως δεν μπορείς να κρίνεις ένα βιβλίο από το εξώφυλλό του.
Sky is the limit.
So, as an artivist of the Olive Tree chapter, I hope to add my little contribution in sharing local initiatives with the world with care and love. And now, without further ado, I open the floor for the other amazing, inspiring people to present their local chapters and to open the discussion. I am looking forward to hearing you all.
That was Irini Ampoumogli from Greece. The little clip she showed you from Leonora Maliu's presentation, along with her students that were present at the event. Although the text is in Greek, I believe that the artwork really does speak for itself. Yeah. So welcome, everyone. Angela, would you like to speak a little bit since you are, I guess, co-liaison with Irini? Tell us a little bit about your work. Oh, mute. You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm constantly forgetting about it. I loved what Irini showed us a few minutes ago. This is what I'm trying to do. I work in schools as a special educator. I work in the library, the Municipal University Library of Limassol, and I'm trying to connect books and kids. When I first, my first idea about getting into the artivism was through a poster that we won the spring of 2023, and presenting the work of journalists of the future, which is a yearly program that I do here in Limassol with kids from elementary schools. I am using books. My special tool is book. That's why we call ourselves book artivists. Book artivists, why? There are the 17 reasons for children's books by the Swedish Academy for Children's Books, which is books can make us laugh and cry. They can comfort us and show us new possibilities. Books help us develop our language and our vocabulary. Books fire our imagination and train in finding our inner images. Books can ask fresh questions that arouse our interest and cause to reflect further. Books give us concepts to think with. They broaden our consciousness of the world. Books give us knowledge about nature, technology, history, about other countries and other ways of life. Books enables us to become someone else. They develop our ability to empathy and to feel compassion. Books makes us reflect on what's right or wrong, good or bad. Books can explain reality and help us understand how things are connected. Books can show us that most things can be seen from different points of view. Books boost our self-confidence when we realize that others think and feel as we do. Books helps us understand that we are both similar and dissimilar. Books offer company where we're lonely. Books are part of our cultural heritage. They give us shared reading experiences and common frames of reference. Books that are read aloud bring children and adults together. Children books gives us access to different artistic forms, such as illustration, photography, poetry, drama. Children's books represent our first contact with literature, an unending world that lasts all our lives. I think those reasons, those 17 reasons, are an explanation of why we use books, why we use stories. Stories is a powerful tool, and it is used by humans from the ancient years. First of all, the stories that were first told were told by our mouths. And these stories were elementary, were very basic to our education. That's why I'm using stories to convey to children difficult meanings, difficult concepts that are that is how can I say it? Sometimes we found ourselves unable to convey to children. Stories say what you are afraid to say. Stories say what you are what you want to say, but many times there are some social conventions and that limit you. Stories can make children understand without trying to be something else. I have experience with all ages and all children, despite their differences, the same thing. The sparkle in their eyes and the change in their face reactions when they hear the story. This makes me feel that stories can change the world.
I think we all pretty much tell stories through our artwork. And just to loop in Brenda from LA and Vicki from Florida, your work helps, Brenda's work, right, helps preserve these stories that are told through murals, correct?
Correct.
And the same with Vicki. I know, Vicki, you work with children also, maybe helping them tell their story. Yeah, you could tell us a little bit about your work and maybe tell us what prompted you to become Artivism Liaisons and begin these new chapters.
Go
Brenda,
ahead,
you can
Vicki.
go ahead.
No, you can go. You can go.
I can completely relate to what Angela was saying, even though I have done one children's book illustration and had to learn how to do that because those who can't read yet can understand the book through pictures. But what brought me to become an artist, a professional artist, or have that as my life's work, is because of stories. And books, authors are creative and they can express it in words. And using art, the visual art, to be able to have a starting point to create the conversations, to draw people in order to tell someone's story is so important, because people are open to hearing about other stories in different ways. And so through visual art, through children's book illustrations, I feel like I can use the talent of my art in order to draw people in and start and then inquiring, like, why is this picture this? Please tell me about this piece of art, so that I have the opportunity to either share a political view or political issue, to change the narratives, the negative narratives that are on the news in reference to an immigration issue or people that are needing to seek protection, and they're being cast in a very negative way, and not the real way. And until we stop and focus on an individual and their story, do we really know the truth? And that's why I like to use the art, in order to bring truth and people to slow down and not be so afraid, and be able to get outside that bubble in order to reach out and to be able to hear somebody. And if the story is horrific, at least we understand and we can get to that emotional aspect of what others are going through, their families, their children. And then we can do something about it. Maybe we can't change the laws on the spot, but at least we can change the conversation among our family and friends and the people we come in contact with. So to me, having Artivism as a platform and having and honoring the art and the power of art is really important.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Well, just to kind of go off a little bit about what Vicki was talking about, and Angela, that's wonderful. I think that's great. Vicki, as Angela, I just want to ask you, you're in Cyprus, correct?
Yes, I am.
You're in Cyprus. Okay, yeah. And so I'm in Los Angeles and Vicki is in Florida. So it's wonderful. This is why I wanted to be part of the Artivism regional chapters or liaison chapters, because I think it's important to have international representation. I've also invited a really good and wonderful human being and activist, artivist, Laura Renata from Chicago. And I have kept murals documented, not just from Los Angeles, but when I realized in Los Angeles that our murals were being whitewashed, and whitewashed means that they have a big, they just completely put a big white cover of paint on a mural. So that's what was happening here in LA. And especially in neighborhoods that are gentrified. So in just like if you guys are aware of Paulo Freire's work, with, you know, he talks about cultural invasion. And what is cultural invasion is when the invaders impose their views and their way of life to cover ours. And so in order for to refute that cultural invasion and save and preserve indigenous you know, history, I started Restorative Justice for the Arts. And Restorative Justice for the Arts is a grassroots organization that just started from a few people that were really upset and shocked about losing these murals that were our grandfathered. Grandfathered means that they're murals that were created before 2013, which gives them layers of protection, and they were being whitewashed. So despite of the protection, so what we did is we fought for them. We developed vigil murals. We developed mural, you know, we are originators of the mural blessing ceremony, which is not a viewing of a finished mural, but basically an invocation of ancestral and community protection for our murals, because nobody else but community can protect art the way we can. So this is why I decided to go on to Chicago and in other places that I could. And Chicago is beautiful. It's a very different experience being a Mexican in Chicago, because in LA we're closer to the border, so we experience a lot more like racism, blatant racism, like here's your mural of your Aztec and we're going to whitewash it. Like that's how blatant it is. And in Chicago they have a beautiful place called Pilsen, which is also being gentrified. So I went to Pilsen, took a lot of pictures over there to document these murals just in case that was happening. But then what I found in Chicago is that Chicago fights. Chicago, you know, it's in LA, they might get away with stuff like that, but in Chicago, it's like they come together. As small as the community they are, they come together and they will fight. And that's, for me, that's a beautiful spirit, and that's the spirit of community, right? So I met Laura there in, you know, as an artivist there, and talking about our experiences with gentrification. Laura's barrio has completely disappeared because of gentrification, and mine has also. So we have that in common, and using this perspective in how we are preserving our art in ways of artivism is reflective of also our love, Angela, for books. you know, because murals tell us stories that schools will never tell you, and books are being banned, you know. So that's something that requires you know, this type of work, this type of artivism to show and create a platform where, in our, like, let's just say a young artivist says, I want to be an artivist, but I don't know how. Well, you know, there's a platform here, not just a local one, but an international one. And because of technology, you know, this would have never been possible, right? For all of us to be here. I mean, Angela, you're way in Cyprus. I've always dreamed of going to Cyprus, by the way. So,
You are
and to
welcome.
Greece, and to Greece, you know, so
Yeah,
like it's
Greece and
wonderful.
yeah.
It's beautiful to have Irini, who just showed us the video, you know, in Greece as well. So like it's for me, it's inspiring. It's wonderful to create this type of platform, and the reason that's the why. And my chapter logo is axolotl. For in Spanish, it's ajolote. In Nahuatl, our indigenous language is a xolot. And so this amphibian or magical salamander is critically endangered because of cultural invasion. So when I do eco-psychology workshops with children, drawing ajolotes or axolots, this is the first time they ever hear a Nahuatl word. They're like, oh, what is Nahuatl? And it's sad because they're Mexican. That's their heritage, and they should be learning that. So it brings forth not just you know, a new view of life, but it brings them their ancestral connection, which is a very powerful connection. And art can do that. Art does that. When a child goes and sees Quetzalcoatl in a mural and asks questions about that, that creates a big, powerful connection in ways that I'd need another hour to tell you guys. But I'm saying, like, this is wonderful. This is the importance of saving this type of art. Deep indigenous iconography, historical preservation. And I want to make it so that it's impossible for someone to whitewash an indigenous mural. That's my goal. And to bring forth this ecological disturbance that gentrification causes, because with gentrification comes ecological damages on many, you know, ripples. So how can we bring forth that awareness using this magical, critically endangered ajolote or axolotl, as you guys know, and teach not just the children who are the future, but teach people like this awareness of the ramifications of gentrification or neocolonialism. So like that is why I feel this is a very important platform. And I also, you know, want to invite a lot of people, but I also want to invite people who are serious, who are somewhat radical. I mean, it's not easy to be as radical as me, but I'm just saying, like, it's possible, you know, and like in order to make that really fast, you know, difference, like we really need to come together and share in those ways of making, you know, that happen. So yeah, Laura, I don't know if you want to say anything, if you know, if you want to put in a couple of, you know, words in there.
I want to be mindful of whatever the agenda is, but I'll be quick. My name is Laura Renata. I'm based here in Chicago. I split my time between Chicago and Mexico. I am an organizer working in policy, and Brenda invited me because I shared one of the projects that I'm currently working on. My focus has been on housing and land rights, right, both here and in Mexico. And one of the issues, as Brenda mentioned, is gentrification, right? In most urban areas across the world, we're facing increasing cost of housing, right? It's becoming less and less affordable. As we all know, it's a human right. It's a basic need. We all need access to it. Most of us that currently live in the neighborhood that I am in Chicago now have been displaced from other areas of the city, right? And now we're currently also, and are now looking at being displaced from this neighborhood, right? Even those of us that are homeowners, because we're having an influx of people from outside corporations that are looking to set up. And one of the issues that we faced last year was a mega promoter that was taking up the only green space available in Chicago, in our area of the city, right? We have a lot of public health issues, chronic illness, et cetera, facing our community because of that lack of green space. And they took up to about 30 days. Chicago summer, for those of you that have been in Chicago during the summer, it's a very short season. They were looking to take about 30 days of that short season from us, right? That access to the green space. So I've been working with different community groups to do bilingual bird tours, right? Currently, we're doing those in Spanish and English. We're hoping to have some other languages available because we do have a large population of Eastern Europeans and Arabic speakers as well. We have a couple bird sanctuaries in our nearby park. So we're doing that. We're looking to have some art installations made because if that art is installed in the park, right, in public spaces, it makes it much more difficult because it will mean there's new regulations and new rules that apply to having those mega concerts here in our green space. They kind of rule us out as a possibility to host that. Unfortunately, this has been happening throughout the city in those that have the least amount of access to green space, right? So the Pilsen neighborhood has it, we have it, the North Lawndale community, et cetera, which are mostly Black and Brown communities here in Chicago. So the idea is to build programming, right, and other practices that build community in the area, and then restrict access to people that are not from the community to preserve that green space and that sense of community. And also keep people here, right? If people band together, they're then more likely to communicate about other issues happening, such as, what are some of the resources around housing, around food scarcity, et cetera. It's also a violence prevention technique, right? How do we address the high levels of violence that we experience not only throughout the United States, but particularly here in Chicago? So yeah, that's kind of the goal of expanding this and getting neighbors to be involved, right? For everyone to see themselves, whether it's through art. Angela, as you mentioned, like books are very important. I was the first person in this community to get a free public library in front of my house. I installed a free, library, and then got several neighbors and different blocks to do it so that when kids are walking home from school, parents, et cetera, they can access those books that they normally wouldn't have access to in their schools, right? And it's done really well. We put that in during the beginning of the pandemic, and there's a constant need for that as well. So really inspired to hear the work that you are doing, and hoping to learn more. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
If you have a website you'd like to share, you can put it in the chat. We would love to hear more about your work, Ms. Lauda.
And this is a great introduction also of all the artivism that is going around the world, as Brenda mentioned earlier, right? And here in the Artivism platform, the 7th season, it's over, what is it, Professor Argio? Now probably over 130 virtual presentations, in addition to in-person multi-venue exhibitions, panel discussions. And the hope of these chapters is to unite all this community, but now in person. We have been able to unite us all in a virtual setting. The goal of these in-person chapters is that, let's say, for example, let's say Brenda is having something in LA to support a mural that might be in line to be whitewashed, right? So we send out a message throughout the Artivism network, and that way anyone that is in that area can come up and support the Chalkiopoulou chapter, right? Not only there in person, but then we can even have a virtual window where the international community, all of us from all around the world, can be present, and that will push for more legislation to protect the murals or the cause at hand at that particular event, right? That is the idea here. The names of each one, right? Say, for example, the olive tree is the one for Angela. Then we have the Everglades orchid for Vicki, right? And the Chalkiopoulou for Brenda. All of those were chosen to make that connection again to nature. And I came across this really interesting phrase that I wanted to share with you today, that is, humanity has to come up to the level of the other creatures in nature. Isn't that a wonderful phrase? Because we always think of it the opposite, but yet we are at a level now that we have forgotten where we come from in regards to the entire creation, right? Plants, animals, insects, and even just organisms per se, right? Miss Vicki, go ahead. I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Carolina. Everything that you were saying was what I was thinking, because I have learned so much of the different outlets and opportunities and resources from participating in Artivism, and from Brenda and the whitewashing and what's happening here in South Florida. I've told so many people about it and sharing it so that the activism and the resources and the work that you've done can be shared with the federal laws that you shared when you were explaining your work at one of the event, the presentations here, and it's recorded for anybody, is interested in learning. But I have shared that and others because other ways that people have pushed back on the gentrification issue. And this, there's so many ideas that come from that, and us coming together in order to share them, in order to have all of these different avenues in order to combat the oppression from the environment and the gentrification and all of the things that are occurring. And like what Carolina said, us forgetting we are on this land as a gift and not to abuse it, and to be able to take care of the land and of each other. And I've had so much inspiration of learning from everyone on this platform.
Thank you.
Yes, what we're doing here is using our art, right? Is to find that freedom, right? To fight for our freedom of expression, of being, of course, also, right? And another one that I wanted to share with you was what gets in between us and our human spirit, huh? Think about that one as well, right? And that's what we're trying to do, but in person now. That's the key here. We want to remember Professor Argy, the one that Garifayat did in Greece with the children at the center square. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that was in relationship to Artivism. It was like a collaboration we did with them, and now we want to expand even more of those sort of programming, right?
It was when the war broke out in the Ukraine, which is now 2 years, right? 2 years since. The young children from this kindergarten school in Kalamata in Greece invited the entire community to meet in the town center, right, in the piazza, right, plaza, with flags and posters, and where they all stood in a circle in this town square, holding hands, asking for peace, right? But there was a parade that went on beforehand, and they gave flowers. The flower that I think was the sunflower, or daffodil was the sign, the symbol for the Ukraine, the yellow flower. They were giving flowers to passersby, to people in stores, and they shared all those images with Artivism. So it's just connecting, right? Involving young people. Some say they're too young because, why are you even mentioning war to 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds? And her answer to that was always because many of these young people that are now living in Greece and other parts of the world are fleeing from war, right? They've lived it. It's not even a generation later. So it's all that.
Archie,
Yes.
next time I would like to make a presentation to you of extraordinary book that was a Greek book that is both in illustration and in text, like a phenomenon about war. This book is talking about war without talking. without using the word even once. But it is so powerful as an image. And as there is one word that is uses, it's like telling everyday life. It's kanonika, arzi in Greek. Kanonika, it's everyday life, and this is a child is describing what he is doing canonica every day in his life. It is small images of everyday life, cooking or making a connection with his grandfather, or teasing his schoolmates, or making fun, or playing his guitar, small everyday moments. And he says every time, normally, today I would do that. Normally, and this is a word that is repeating, but we see the image is somehow in every page deteriorating. It's going, we see some cracks, and it's going larger and larger and larger and larger. And this, normally I would do that, and larger. Normally I would do that, and larger, and up to the moment that he says that normally today I would celebrate my 9-year-old birthday. And normally I would invite all my class, but nothing is normal today. And the next page is only an image of bombs. And it is an amazing book that this year I used it every time that I had, with every class that I had, and everybody goes silent.
And that could be everything from war to global warming to everything we're talking about here today.
What the simple things that we lose. And my final phrase to the kids is always, please find a way to connect with each other and make communities of peace and not communities of war.
Yes.
This is because we are talking about the change. And the second thing that I use very much at this year is that I make them stand up, and I say to them, when the people didn't have any cars, they used donkeys in Cyprus and in Greece, and they put in to the donkeys two parallel
blinders. They're blinders.
Yeah, blinders, for them not to be distracted by nature, and to only follow the road.
That's social media.
That's social media, yes.
Yeah, I say to them this thing, that when you don't read books, you are like that.
Yeah.
When you read books, you are like that. You open your mind to the vision of other people. So the world expands when you use books.
And that's what all these chapters are all about, right? Is removing these blinders, being open to all of these, connecting and, doing these in person, hopefully, right? Just like Alamata, just like you do in Florida, Vicki, right? You've had a recent, I think, in-person event, no?
Yes, that's like, but it, at the time wasn't under Artivism, or like I didn't share it in that way, but with all the events that I do, they so relate to Artivism that it will go hand in hand.
And I wanted to ask all of the Artivism Liaisons here, what would you tell the audience to encourage others in creating their own local chapters? in their region, in their community. Because remember, it can be in your church, it can be in your home, right? We can start from home. You don't have to wait until you can move a whole nation, but we have to start somewhere, right? So go ahead, tell me about that a little bit.
I personally think that I make it a point to let people know that you don't have to be an artist to be an artist. And that's a misconception. Like I told Laura, I said, this is something that is you don't have to be like this Picasso to, like, you know, to be part of this. You just really want, you know, having the passion in your heart to make that change and to contribute to these artivism projects or you know, awareness projects that we are going to bring forth, or that we've brought forth with our research, or with, you know, with our activism. And a lot of people really think that you have to be an amazing artist to be an artivist, and that's not the case. So I love to tell kids, I make it a point to work with children who've never done art in their life, you know, and or with people, because we need them. We need them all.
And here at Artivism, art is whatever your passion is for. So you could be poetry, it could be you know, a medical doctor, it could be research, it could be pretty much anything you're really passionate about is your art.
Right.
Right.
Because it creates creative, it has requires creative thinking in order to get past a stumbling block, or, you know, what the boundary, what is in front of us. And that has what has inspired me for everything, because, you know, I guess it's part of my personality too. If you tell me no, I'm like, really? Like, you know, we can't do this, and we'll find a way. And so that's what gives me power too, because when I feel like there's no hope, or even the story that Angela was saying, that that we've got to, with global warming, with all the different things that we see within our world, it just takes me as an individual to do something about it, and it gives me hope. So bringing that into all of us as a group, and sharing the knowledge that we all have attained and we all continue to try to search for in order to make the world a better place, that's what it's all about. And having this platform in order to do it, and to be among everybody, all the greatness that's here just because of the power of wanting to do good in the world is the generator that keeps us going, and makes it right, makes the world right. And, you know, even with I know that Argy had told this earlier about the community workshops that I do and I was talking to a vice mayor today in my local area. And what gives me hope is that talent is universal and opportunity is not. And it's bringing the opportunity into all the areas that are lacking.
What about you? What would you tell someone to encourage them to start their own chapter of artivism?
I would say act now. And this is very important for me as well. It's not about only about the ideas that we have in mind, or concepts or notions, or that we want to eliminate the stereotypes from our lives. It's about act and make. That's why I am with children, because I want to plant the seed.
Yes.
I want to plant the seed. I am not interested in seeing the flower in a minute, but I want to plant the seed, and I am positive that this seed would someday have the results that I want to have. in our society. It's very basic. So this planting, okay, it may be a little, I don't know, we might be a small group of people, but little by little, this becomes larger and larger and larger, and eventually we can change. We cannot stay like that. We have to change things. We cannot stay and do nothing.
Right.
Let's just take a second to officially introduce yourselves, okay? Now, I know we've talked about it briefly, but now just one at a time, go around and tell us again your chapter name, your name, and what you're hoping to do with this chapter. What are your hopes, right, for this particular section that you're under as a liaison? Go ahead, Ms. Vicki, you go first.
Okay, I'm Vicki Rosenthal. I'm based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the name of the chapter is Everglades Orchid, and it is an actual extinct orchid that is in the Everglades. Everglades is a huge a vast of land that's a national, like, designated area, or I guess under UNESCO. It should be preserved, and it's also getting destroyed by development. And so what I hope to gain about and being a part of Artivism is I'm really honored to have the opportunity to be a part, first off, and that the founders, Argy and Carolina, found it necessary and inspired by creating this space, and to hopefully do it justice of all the good work that you've already done, and to carry it forward and use what you've already started to broaden it here locally, and with any, I don't even think I have to have it local. It's just allowing, using the platform that I have with the friends and the connections that I have to make it go forward.
Ms. Angela?
I don't know if we're going across, but I already spoke a lot. But I'm in Los Angeles. My name is Brenda Perez. My research has everything to do with gentrification and the whitewashing of deep indigenous iconography, murals with deep indigenous iconography, and basically chose, like I said, the axolotl or ajolote to mirror what is going on, not just with our environment, but with gentrification and the destruction of our environment, with allowing those type of issues to go on. There's only 1,000, about, even probably less, axolotls in Xochimilco, Mexico, where it originally is where its original habitat is now, and a lot of the reason for that is because of their environment and their habitat being gentrified as well. And so a lot of those efforts to gentrify communities come with corruption, for example, to evade and to pay politicians to avoid the environmental impact report, which can stop a development from happening. And that's a lot of, that's a big problem, because again, that is disrespecting nature, our environment, and destroying, our world. These laws and environmental laws and policies are there to protect our environment from this pollution and from this invasive programs and procedures. So we that's why I chose it. But other than that, you know, I'm in Highland Park, that's in Northeast Los Angeles, you know, a little bit above East LA. It's not East LA, it's Northeast LA. And, you know, so like we're a very special little part of Los Angeles, which I love, and I, you know, all my passion comes from the love of my community, the warmth that I had growing up here. You know, Highland Park was special way before gentrification hit, you know, and all that is the reason why I'm so passionate, not just about my community, but all of Los Angeles, even as far as here to Chicago, where I see the same and I felt the same warmth, you know, in the community in Pilsen, and these historical texts, these murals that you know have to be protected.
And Angela, I think after you introduce yourself very briefly, I will play a little bit of your little video just so the audience can see some of the work you do with your young people.
I'm Angela Chalkiopoulou. I'm based in Cyprus, Limassol, and olive tree is our symbol. It's a very known plant tree here in Cyprus and in Greece, and it's known for the endurance. Its endurance. Even though in the most harsh environments, it can grow and it can give food, which is very symbolic.
Yeah.
My inspiration and my goal, being a liaison, is to connect with all you people and to bring you and your experiences and your projects close to my pupils and my students, because we are teaching about diversity, we are teaching about inclusion, we are teaching about being together and connecting with each other, but I want this to be real for them.
I will play
before
just
we go to the video, Professor Archie, we also want to say about the video that we played earlier with Irini Ampoumogli, right? That she also is the co-liaison of the Olive Tree Branch and sent us that beautiful message. Unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, she's unable to be here, but I know she's here in spirit. And I wanted to acknowledge also her work in the Taverna, right? That was one of the first in-person events that we had in Crete. Professor Archie, before we go to Angela's video, do you want to tell us a little bit of how that experience on site happened and where exactly? And
it was
a shout out also to the Taverna owner.
Panorama. It's the Panorama.
A couple of things there, yes.
Panorama Taverna in a little shepherding village in Crete. It's called Elefthana in Rethymno. It's a mountainous village. And Irini did her research on the Vegera. A Vegera is like an evening event where the women in these small villages gather, usually on their front little stoop, away from the town center, where they sit, you know, they crochet, they talk, they gossip. It's just a way for these women to connect. So she was studying the Vegera and how that carries on the storytelling, the traditions, right? And all that. So she, you know, wrote her report, and then she was presenting her Vegera project. So what we did was we invited the women of this village to gather at this taverna and Zoom in. These women don't have internet in their homes. They've never really heard of Zoom. You know, many don't even have cell phones. And all of a sudden, they are part of this live presentation, zooming in with, you know, people from pretty much all over the world. And it was just such a beautiful experience when Irini showed their photographs and their videos. They were so excited, you know, to see themselves. And then they each spoke a lot, right? Irini gave them the opportunity to voice, you know, what their experience was, to talk about the importance of carrying on these traditions, the importance of storytelling, right? And just, you know, meeting and family and all that. And then the second one was, of course, Eleonora. And the third event was they gathered again. One of the women in the village talked about Cretan knots, which is Cretan macrame, right? What this macrame is all about. You know, some are blessings, some are, again, storytelling, and just that pretty much ancient tradition, which is still alive today, right? So we will go to the video now. And again, those are all on YouTube. Let me share my screen. Okay. So this is just a little bit of that video. Thank you so much, Angela, for sharing. I will include the entire video in with the recording of this session, so we can revisit it again. Yes, Carolina, do you want to do the takeaway or talk about next week's events? Let me just get there.
I'll check out that part, and then if you'd like to do the last one there, or the key takeaway for today's.
Okay, well, Thank you to all of our artivists today and to all the participants for being here. This is a very, special, I guess, edition of Artivism, the initiative, introducing our new chapters. We really hope that these chapters will grow by, expanding.
I have a very good thing to say.
Yes.
One of our projects, the project with Eleni Geroulanu about cycladic and
Yes.
cross-shaped figurines, traveling the world with another way of with another vision, will be presented on the EB International Conference. We were chosen to present the book Artivists project.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, and will be presented in Trieste in Italy.
Beautiful. We look forward to hearing your news, but let's hear from Laura first. Laura, did you have a question?
I
Yes.
just wanted to quickly, I know some of the other folks on the presentation are recent participants like myself, but is there any way that we could just have people either in the chat due to time constraints or just quickly introduce themselves and what region they're representing? I'd be interested in hearing what some of the other folks on here as well are doing.
That's nice.
Sure. Stephen.
Okay, so I'm a poet, I'm a journalist, I'm also an activist. I co-founded this Zine. It's a magazine. It represents open mics on Long Island, New York, and we list all the open mics on the island. It's upside down, is it? No. So we cover Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, and really Suffolk, and we publish underrepresented poets, and we represent, and we host and open a mic every month. So we have interviews. So it covers all types of causes that each open mic is really doing. And I've been experimenting with street journalism, covering events like open mic events, and I'm experimenting with covering stuff about feminism, because I have a dense trauma history, and I'm a supportive of almost every cause.
Oh,
and
great.
yeah.
We would
Thank you.
love to learn more. We'll connect.
Yeah.
We'll definitely connect. You have our email, and if it's okay with you, we can email you as well.
Yeah, sure. Let me just
Yes. And
drop my information.
Thank you. And Christina Sonde is from Canada. She's an artist. She's originally from Poland. Anna Lazu is zooming in from Greece. And I think and Zubin Grab is a good friend and supporter of Artivism. He's a videographer. He's zooming in from North Carolina. So just very quickly, yes, for more information on upcoming and past events, you can visit artivism@adelphi.edu. You can watch past recordings on our YouTube channel, Artivism for Shared Humanity. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook on Artivism for Shared Humanity. Next week, we have Monday, March 25th at 4:30. Felipe Vega will be zooming in from Costa Rica, and he will be presenting Exploring the Harmonic Nexus, Uniting Science, Music, and Art for Societal Transformation. Here at Artivism, we leave with a key takeaway from the presenters. So we ask, okay, here's Carolina, she's coming back. So we ask each of our Artivism liaisons to give us what you would like your key takeaway to be to our audience here today. Brenda, do you want to go first?
I think I've said it all. Just, I just, I just really want people to know and understand that our art is always protected, and that it takes community. It really does. The power of community to come forward and basically save any kind of art. That's all, and one and all. So that's pretty much all I want to. I've been working on a artist bill of rights. If you guys want, I can share that with you guys.
Yes, please. And maybe we
Cool.
can add to it as well. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's it. But it was wonderful hearing all of you guys speak, and it's wonderful meeting all of you. And Stephen, great. That's
Yeah.
I really dig what you're doing, and all of you guys, everybody. And hopefully next time Irini can be,
Yes.
can be present, because she's doing a lot of great work too. But thank you very much. My cats and dogs want to be part of the they're like right here wanting to get in the camera. I'm like,
Good.
stop it.
Thank you, Brenda. Vicki?
My takeaway was, first off, I'm glad Laura asked, because I just assumed that everybody on here must have been invited by Argy and Carolina. So to hear that, Stephen, that you were just, like here, and Anna from Greece, and Christina, I was like, I'm so glad to know who was on today. But the takeaway would be just to know that Artivism is here, what it's for. It's a welcoming space that we could all come together with like minds and be able to learn and grow from each other.
Thank you, Vicki. And Angela?
I've said most of the things that I want to say. I've said it already, but I have to say that I'm grateful to be part of this beautiful community.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you very much.
Carolina?
Wonderful. Did we cover the one for next week already? I was
Yep.
disconnected a second.
Did it all.
You did? Okay,
Did
perfect.
it all.
I'd like to thank Professor Archie for her support all this time, because without her, none of this could have happened. Season 7, more than 130 presentations virtually with people all around the world, various languages.
It's
And
teamwork. It's teamwork.
yeah, of course. Yes, but dedication for sure, right? And another thing that I want to say is that here we try to give the space to all, right? Like, for example, if you look at the presentation where we discuss poetry in various native languages from the Americas, every poem that was originally written for the occasion or for other occasions was read in that language, in Spanish, and then in English, meaning that it doesn't matter, because I know for times like Miss Angela, you might know this, that about translations and books, right, and how that affects the original, right? And sometimes certain languages take precedent. Like, for example, that quote that stuck with me from that presentation was, "You will never," and Miss Brenda, you're gonna like this one. When you mentioned Nahuatl, right? You probably heard like, oh, tell me more about Nahuatl. I never heard about Nahuatl. And the presenter of that presentation that I'm referring to said, how come we let our native languages disappear, or it has become a norm to just allow them to disappear? But yet, if you would say that German or French or English is about to be eradicated from the face of the earth, what would happen? What would happen? Would that be allowed? Right? And why do we have these distinctions? And that's all that we discuss here in Artivism through marvelous work that is already happening on the ground worldwide. Yeah. And through this initiative, that's what we try to kind of like bring forth, right? That we're not alone, that all of this is happening in various sectors all over the world. And a little bit through here, at least now we know who's where, what you're doing. We're learning, we're knowing about research, about doing beautiful projects. and not to be discouraged, right? To keep going, to keep pushing, because the work, like Ms. Vicki said earlier, it needs to be done. Ms. Angela also, Ms. Brenda, all of them mentioned it, right? We need to take action towards transformation. And here in the Artivism Initiative, the bottom line is always nurturing change for a more meaningful and dignified coexistence. And with that, we'll leave you for today. We hope that you are inspired to reach back to us, continue watching the presentations every Monday, be part of the exhibitions, and who knows, maybe you might also want to be a liaison, so keep that in mind as well, all right?
Great.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
project.
Bye-bye,
and,
everyone.
good
Thank
luck
you.
today.
Have a good night,
Thank you.
Angela.
Bye.
Thank you
you
very
all.
much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Be well.
Stay tuned.